So I started a manga collection in 2021. Hey, what's up guys? I'm Blue Tempest and welcome to my channel. As a fan of anime for many years, I didn't actually quite get into reading manga until January of this year. But as a collector of video games and vinyl and a bunch of other things, this was kind of bound to happen at some point. But yeah, I basically just wanted to make a collection video to introduce myself to the community, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into it. Alright, so before we get started, I do want to explain how I have everything set up. Currently, I have all of my volumes separated by publisher, and it starts off with Viz Media, and then it goes into Kodansha and some of the other publishers such as Vertical and Dark Horse. So yeah, that's pretty much how I have it set up. And if you're wondering about what bookshelf I'm using, this is the Billy shelf from IKEA. So yeah, let's get into it. So starting off, we have Assassination Classroom in the box set. This is a series that I am currently reading. As you can see, I am about halfway into volume 2, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's a pretty wacky series about this alien octopus-looking guy named Koro Sensei, who's a teacher for this class of misfits, and the class is all trying to assassinate him because he is eventually planning on destroying the Earth. So if that sounds interesting to you, I would recommend it. Just even based on the first 2 volumes, it's pretty good so far. Next up, we have Bakuman, also in the box set. Now, I have not gotten around to reading the series yet, but from what I can tell, it is a series about these 2 characters who are trying to make their own manga. This is done by the same duo who did Death Note, so I'm super excited to get into it. Next up is a series that needs no introduction to the manga community, and that's Chainsaw Man. Probably one of the most hyped up series in the community. It's selling out everywhere, and it has an anime coming out as well. But I would say it is definitely worth the hype. If you can get on this series, definitely get on it or read it on the Shonen Jump app. It's completely worth it. I can't wait for volume 5 to come out. Alright, so next up we have Kaguya-sama Love is War. I just have volume 1, and this was a gift from my girlfriend last month for my birthday. And we both really love the anime for this. So I can't wait to start reading the manga. It's not gonna be a super high priority for me to collect right now because I'm pretty fresh off of the anime, but highly recommend it if you're into like romantic comedies or just comedy in general. It is a super funny series. Next up, we have volumes 1 through 19 of The Gray Man. This isn't completely up to date on what volumes are out, but this is still an ongoing series that started a while back ago, and I haven't gotten to read it yet. I just picked it up as a lot for a great price, and I'm super excited to get into it because people say it is one of the most underrated shonen. At least that's what I've heard. So once I read it, you guys will be hearing about it in maybe even a review or a reading log or something like that. Next up, we have Hunter x Hunter. I'm missing about 15 volumes or so of this, but I am a huge fan of the anime for the series, and so that's why I started picking up the manga, and I did want to read what was past the anime. And yeah, this series is amazing, quite possibly my favorite. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it's definitely high up there, definitely at like top 3 series for me, and easily my favorite like Shonen Jump. So yeah. So next we got Yu Yu Hakusho volume 1. I picked this up at a local comic book store. I still haven't read it, but I am planning on watching the anime for this and maybe collecting it. It's not going to be a super high priority, but yeah, this series is also from the same mangaka as Hunter x Hunter. So yeah, I'm sure I'm going to really enjoy it when I read it. Next up, we have Slam Dunk volumes 1, 2, and 3. Picked these up used for really cheap, and I haven't read them yet, but I'm super excited to get into it because I heard Slam Dunk is one of the best sports series of all time. So I'm pretty excited to read it. Next up, we have Hikaru no Go volumes 1, 2, and 3. Also picked this up used. and pretty excited to get into it, as it is also drawn by Takeshi Obata, who did Death Note and Bakuman up there. But yeah, I haven't read these yet. It's about a board game, from what I believe, called Go, which seems interesting. Maybe not the most exciting thing, but I heard it is really, really good. And I've seen a lot of recommendations for this, so I'm gonna try out volumes 1, 2, and 3, and then see if I want to keep collecting it. And next up we have Platinum End. This is also from the same duo who did Bakuman and Death Note, and it's a pretty good series. I really enjoyed reading it. This is all the volumes that are out so far. I believe there are 2 more that need to come out before this series is completed, so I can't wait to see how this ends. It's a pretty edgy series, kind of similar to Death Note, but I wouldn't say it's exactly the same type of story. But yeah, if you like Death Note, you probably will like this, but don't expect it to be the same as Death Note, because it's definitely pretty different. All right, so next up we have Twin Star Exorcist. I think this is one of the most underrated shonen series that is currently ongoing. I've only read up to volume 9 because I want to wait until I have more volumes before I start reading it again. But yeah, just from volumes 1 through 9, this series is fantastic. Kind of mixes some elements of rom-com with action, and it's not the most insane concept or anything, but what it sets out to do, it does super well. This also does have an anime adaptation that I do not recommend at all. It is completely different, but yeah, if you haven't read it, I would just highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of shonen. All right, so next up is Dead Man Wonderland. I have volumes 1 through 13, which is the complete series. I haven't gotten to read this yet, but I've had it in my collection for a while, except for volume 2, so I was kind of waiting on getting volume 2 before I started reading it. But yeah, I plan to read this with my best friend. We're gonna kind of read alongside and maybe do a video talking about it, because he's actually the one who recommended it to me. So yeah, super excited to get into it. So next up we have some Junji Ito books, Uzumaki and Gyo. You probably already know who Junji Ito is, but if you don't, he is known for his horror stories. And I haven't read these yet, but I'm really excited to get into them and see what all the hype for Junji Ito is about. So yeah. All right, so next up we have Rent a Girlfriend, volumes 1 through 5. This is up to date. And this series is a rom-com about this guy who's a simp, and he got dumped by his ex-girlfriend. So because he was kind of feeling kind of depressed about it, he rented this girl through a rent-a-girlfriend service, which is it's a pretty interesting concept. He then has to keep renting her for different reasons that I won't get into, but yeah, highly recommend you get into this. It's a super funny series. Don't judge a book by its cover, because it's really good. Next up we have That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Trinity and Tempest. This is actually the first manga series that I picked up because I'm a huge fan of the anime, and I wanted to get into something that was kind of like manga only. Now that I'm more into manga, I realize that spin-offs usually aren't as good as the main series, but I still really enjoy this spin-off. Yeah, it just has those same kind of vibes as the original story, except with some new characters. So if you're into the Slime series, I do recommend this spin-off. Next we have volumes 1 and 2 of Happiness. This is the first Shuzo Oshimi work that I have read, and it is really good. I can't wait to get more of these. There should be more coming in the mail because I did order the entire series from Right Stuff. So hopefully you guys will see that in a haul coming up. But yeah, this is like a very psychological thriller type of series with vampires. I highly recommend it. Next up, we've got volume 1 of Dog Ningen. If you know, you know. This is a really hilarious series, kind of like a parody on just like action manga in general. But yeah, like I said before, if you know, you know on this one. And then next is Solo Leveling Volume 1. This is actually a manhwa. I just got this as well. I haven't read through it, but I am looking forward to. And I know that these kind of come out super slow, so I may just end up reading it online if I do enjoy it. Next up we have Eureka 7. This is like the whole series, and it's based off of an anime, but this adaptation was actually done by the same mangaka as Dead Man Wonderland. It's not a bad series. I think it's just kind of hindered for me because of the translation is kind of poor. But aside from that, if you do like Dead Man Wonderland and you like the art style, you know, I would recommend it. Not the best thing I've read, but it's decent. And then next up we have volumes 1 through 6 of Inside Mari. This is another Shuzo Oshimi work, same mangaka as Happiness. And I haven't gotten into this yet, but from what I understand, it is a psychological take on the body swap genre. So this guy basically wakes up in this girl Mari's body, and it's super crazy and psychological from what I understand. Like I said, I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited to get into it because I've kind of been on a big just Shuzo Oshimi binge at the moment, and I've ordered like pretty much all of his works, so I can't wait to get more into him. I really like his style. So yeah, which brings me to Blood on the Tracks, volumes 1 through 4. This series is insane. I don't even want to really say much about what this is about. Just know that it is probably the most unsettling thing I have read so far. I can't wait for more volumes of this to come out. I know volume 5 is out, but it's out of stock everywhere. So yeah. So next up we have Ajin Demi-Human. This seems like a series that I'd be super into. I still haven't read this volume, but I did order a couple more, so I'll read it once I have those so I can binge it a bit. Alright, so next up we have Cowboy Bebop volumes 1, 2, and 3. This is a manga adaptation of the popular anime, which I'm a pretty big fan of, and it's out of print. I got it for a pretty good deal, so I would only recommend this if you've already watched the anime, as it's its own story and everything, so keep that in mind. Alright, so next up we have Gantz in the Omnibuses. This was a recommendation from one of my best friends who told me that this was his favorite manga series of all time. So when I started getting into manga, I knew I had to pick this up, and I am not disappointed at all. This manga is insane. If you like action, if you like gore, if you like just like craziness, then this is the series for you. Would not recommend it to a younger audience as it's a pretty mature story, but yeah, Gantz is great. And then over here we have Gantz G, which is the spin-off, and this is complete. I got this as a birthday present last month, and I haven't read them yet, but once I kind of catch up to the omnibuses of Gantz, and I just want some more of that action and Gantz fix, I guess, that's when I'll like read these. So yeah. Alright, so next up we have the Fooly Cooly Omnibus. This is a manga adaptation of one of my favorite animes of all time. I'm sure if you're into anime, you have heard of Fooly Cooly. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. It is kind of weird, but yeah, I haven't gotten to read this yet. I know it is pretty different from the anime, but I'm still excited to get into it. And then next up we have Blue Giant. This is a series about a saxophone player, and fun fact, I actually play saxophone myself, so my friend bought this for me as a birthday gift as well. I haven't gotten to read it, but I will let you know what I think of it in a future reading log. Alright, and so next up we have this Hunter x Hunter data book. It's all in Japanese, so I can't read it, but when I found out about this, I ordered it on Amazon just because I'm a big fan of Hunter x Hunter. I don't know why it's over here in my collection. I'll probably put it with the rest of Hunter x Hunter, but this is just where it fits for right now. And then this is the final section of my shelf. We have some hardcovers such as the Attack on Titan No Regrets hardcover, which this is a spin-off of Attack on Titan. Huge fan of the anime, so I kind of picked this up on a whim, and it's all right. I'm not a huge fan of this spin-off, but it's such a nice hardcover and it's in full color, so I'm not gonna get rid of it because of that. All right, so next up is the behemoths that are the deluxe editions for Berserk. I have not had a chance to read these yet, but when I do, I'm sure I'm going to love this series, as it is one of the most critically acclaimed manga series out there. Yeah, it really needs no introduction. I'm sure you've heard of Berserk at this point, but if you haven't, it is a dark fantasy story, very mature, and yeah, I can't wait to get into it. All right, so technically the last volume of manga that I have in my collection is this Zelda: A Link to the Past adaptation of the game. I've had this in my collection for years at this point. It was a gift many years ago from a friend, and I never actually read it. So now that I am into reading manga, hopefully I will read this at some point. All right, and lastly, we have a couple of non-manga related books in my collection. So as you can see, this is the D&D player handbook, and then I have some art books for some video games. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Creating a Champion book, and the Fire Emblem Awakening art book. These are two of my favorite games of all time, so I'm super happy to have these in my collection. And yeah. Alright, so that pretty much does it for my manga collection video. Thank you guys for watching, and if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe and comment. Let me know what manga you think I should get in the future, and yeah, I'll definitely be uploading more videos, so stay tuned, and thanks again for watching.